What's up, guys? Welcome back to the shop. So in this episode, we are finally going to get Project Prelude up and running again. This has been a 14-year project in the making. I bought this car in 2007, drove it for about 6 months, and then spun 2 rod bearings, tore the whole thing down, started stripping it down to redo it. Life got in the way. Car went to storage, started rusting, just was not good in storage. Finally drug it home a couple years ago, and this is where it's at right now. So we are really close to getting this thing started. I need to button up a few things underneath. We got the axles in today and all that stuff. I need to put trans fluid in it, oil. I want to put an oil pressure gauge on it since I did do a balance shaft delete just to make sure I have good oil pressure when we finally get it started. I've got to mount the coil and do some battery wiring and things of that nature for my battery relocate, and hook up the fuel lines. And I did have to take the intake, upper plenum off the intake, so I got to get that glued back on. But otherwise, oh, I got to put coolant in it too, and hose clamps. So, but otherwise, we're getting really close, and I'm hoping if I can't get it started today, I can get it started tomorrow. So let's get to it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, and hey, check out our website, ftpspeedshop.com. Let's do it. All right, guys, so we've been working on Project Prelude here. We've been getting everything put back on the car here. I got my oil pressure gauge temporaried up there on the cowl. Got the fuel lines in. I got the coolant installed. Over here on this side, I've got the transmission shift top cover off, and I've dumped in the 2 quarts of transmission fluid that I've needed. Over here, I got my custom mount made for my coil, and got the coil mounted to the rear cross member. Also have the coil wire made, and this is going to be the new location for the battery. Put oil in the motor, and guess what happened? We have an oil leak. Probably can't see that too well, but it's coming from the oil pan right where that hole's at. So the oil pan's leaking, less than ideal, obviously, because now the oil pan has to come back off to fix that. Yeah, I don't know. It's always something. I really wanted to get this thing started this afternoon. It's close. I got a little bit of wiring stuff to do, and I think it's ready to start. So I might keep pushing forward with the wiring and the battery stuff and getting the starter wired and all that, and then just see if we can get it to start. And if we can get it to start, that'd be awesome. And I can go back to pull the exhaust off and drop the oil pan. Kind of wish I would have put oil in it before I buttoned everything up on the other side of the car, because it's all going to come off now. But it is what it is. So no point in crying about it. I'm going to get back to work, and I'll update you here in a little bit. All right, guys, so we got this thing pretty damn close to being ready to start. We got oil in it, determined there was an oil pan leak, as I showed you the other day. And then we have no power to the starter for some reason, and the starter wouldn't crank even if I jumped it. So I put a ground wire on the starter to the battery, and I'm able to jump the starter now and get the starter to crank over. So I know that we have a grounding issue with the starter. That's probably because the starter's been painted, the bell housing's been painted, and it's just not getting enough current draw through the paint or through the bolts that have scratched through. So I've got to pull the starter back off and buff off some of that paint on the starter and the bell housing so I can get a good ground on the starter. And got to start tracing wires back to see why I don't have power to the starter. We do get fuel pumped to prime, and we also had another little accident. So when I was first starting to shave the firewall, right in this area, I don't know what I was doing, if I was welding in that top patch panel across there. I was welding something and started the firewall insulation on fire up underneath here. And in doing that, it ended up burning a couple wires before I got it out, not knowing it. So those wires, or one of them, started going to ground and got hot. So this is the loom cover. You can see where it was burnt. So it ended up burning the sheeting off of a couple of them, and they must have been arcing together. So we had a bunch of smoke going up under the dash, quickly disconnected the battery, and took the seat out, took the brake gas pedal assembly out so I could access this, stripped this out, found the bad wires. There was one wire that was burnt all the way through the sheathing, and then there was 5 other ones that just had the sheathing burnt that were probably just touching. They were probably just touching that wire that was hot. So I've got to crawl back underneath there. I've got those wires separated with the key on, the battery back on. I'm not getting anything arcing with those separated. Nothing's getting hot, so that's a good sign. But we still don't have any crank. So I've got to start tracing wires, which is going to be a pain in the ass and awfully boring. But this is what happens. Really wanted to start it in 2021, but it's 2022. It's January 1, and we'll see. We'll see if we can get this thing running today, or at least turning over. All right, guys, so we finally got the motor to crank. Turns out it was a bad neutral safety switch. That little pad that pushes the switch on and off was broken for whatever reason. I had to crawl up under the dash and inspect it, and then I ended up just grounding the neutral safety switch, and now the car cranks over. So now we can go ahead and see if it wants to start. Oh, it almost started. Holy shit, it almost started. I did not see any oil pressure coming up on the gauge yet, and it seems like it's cranking a little slow. Might have to throw the battery charger, I might have wore the battery down a little bit, but it definitely just popped. So that's a pretty damn good sign. I think what I'm gonna do is pull the coil off, crank it over, see if we can get some oil pressure built up on the gauge. It'll probably take a little bit of time to get oil up there so everything's new and dry. Holy shit, it almost started. Yes, why didn't I do this yesterday? Oh, there's still no pressure on the gauge, which is less than ideal, but it might not be turning fast enough to get it up there, so we're backfiring out the exhaust like a motherfucker. Oh, we got oil pressure. Yes, we finally got oil pressure building. Oh, that's a beautiful sight. Oh, yes. That makes me very happy. That makes me really happy. I was really concerned about that. So what I'm gonna go do is go get a key turner to get over here and turn the key so I can run the throttle and check timing and see if we can get this bad bitch to start. Yes, it's cranking. Let's see if we can start it anyway. Woo! That was a fireball. That was a backfire out of the intake. Okay, so let's check the firing order because the firing order seems off. Cylinder 1, right there. Cylinder 3 was right. That's 4. Cylinder 4 goes up top. Cylinder 3 goes up top also. Cylinder 2. One, 3, 4. All right, yeah, let's try it now because the firing order was way the fuck off. Oh, firing order is way off. I just put the plugs on and I don't know, I didn't even check the firing order. Holy shit, it starts. Uh-oh. That one's really cold. All right, guys, we had it running for a little while. We had a miss on cylinder number 4. It wasn't getting any temperature, it wasn't coming up to temperature. It was about 80 degrees, and when all these were about 280 degrees. It's been off for about 10 minutes now, so it's cooled down. So I got the handy dandy node light out, just a little tool like this. I think I got these at Harbor Freight. You just stick into the prongs on the injector, crank it over, start it, see if this lights up. It'll light up every time you get an injector pulse. I get no light on cylinder number 4, popped off number 3, it lit up just the way it should, and that makes sense. All right guys, so once I realized that we didn't have an injector firing with the node light, did a quick test on that. I went ahead and checked it for ground, or for positive, make sure we had a good positive power coming up to the injector clip. So I just went ahead and ran my ohm meter to the negative side of the battery and touched the contact in here for the hot one, which is the red and black. And we do in fact have power to the injector, so we know it's going to be the signal side. That's going to be the ground that fires from the ECU. So that's how we know that we've got an issue there. And so I'm going to start chasing that wire down. I'll look up and see what color it's supposed to be, find it inside, see if we have ground signal coming from inside the car and it's just not making it out. Could have a broken wire somewhere in the harness. So that's where we're going to start now. Okay guys, so what I did is I went down here at the ECU, pulled the ECU back out, got my handy dandy pin out sheet that I've had forever. The number 4 injector is pin number 2 on clip A, and it is a yellow wire. So what I started out doing was testing for continuity between the wire. So I needed to put my ohm meter in this side, and then the yellow side of clip number 4. I checked that, I had continuity between it, so I knew that the wire was good. So I couldn't figure out why exactly it wasn't working. If the wire is solid and it goes all the way through, how come we don't have any injector? Why don't we get the negative pulse from the ECU? So I thought maybe the ECU might be bad. I swapped ECUs, still the same problem. What ended up being the problem is over the whole time I was building this harness, I was chasing and ohming a lot of wires, and the clip that the pin slides into, the metal part in there, ended up getting bent way out of the way, and so it wasn't making contact with the pins down in the ECU here. So what I ended up having to do was get a small pick or Allen wrench, I believe I used, real small one, got in there and then bent the clip back up, plugged it back in, and now we have perfect contact with the ECU, and the injector fires, and so everything is running and firing on all 4 cylinders. All right guys, that's gonna be a wrap. We finally got Project Prelude started. I cannot believe that it actually started as easy as it did once I figured out the neutral safety switch was bad. The neutral safety switch kept me from making my goal of getting this thing started in 2021. I did get it started on January 1st, 2022, so I just barely missed my goal, but this thing is running and it's time to start getting a tune on it. So I need to get my chipped ECU with chrome. I need to get an H23 base map put into that, and then we can start dialing back the injectors, because it is running way too rich with the 450 injectors. And I can keep working on all that stuff. I need to get the brakes and the clutch line done, and then button up all the interior stuff that I pulled apart, going after those wires that had been burnt when the firewall insulation started on fire way back when I started welding and shaving the firewall. So I'm excited. I got about a week's worth of work to do before this thing's ready to go and drive, and it's gonna be really cool. However, we did just get some snow, so it's gonna put a little bit of a damper on me going out and driving this thing, because I don't want to be driving it with wet streets with all the brine on the road. So that being said, Stick with us for future episodes where we get Project Prelude wrapped up and we start enjoying the car a little bit. We'll catch you on the next one.